And this is the tale of a little cowboy's Christmas by Marcia Martin, illustrated by Eleanor Dart. To Lawrence David, who finally got his white horse. Lawrence was just a little boy, but he was very clever, especially when it came to playing cowboy. He could tell you exactly how real cowboys dressed because he had a complete cowboy outfit himself. He needed only a little help each morning to put on his plaid shirt, his blue denim pants, buckle on his chaps with the fringe, and tie the red kerchief around his neck. Then he would tug until his real high-heeled cowboy boots were on, and fasten the spurs, which would come in mighty handy for a quick getaway. After breakfast, he would run for his big 10-gallon cowboy hat and push it way back on his head, where it needed a little help from his ears to stay in the proper place. Finally, most important of all, would come his ammunition belt, complete with holsters and two beautiful pearl-handled six-guns. Then he would tear outside to meet the other children. You can see that Lawrence loved being a cowboy, so you will not be surprised to hear what he asked for when Daddy took him to visit Santa Claus. While they were waiting in line, Daddy asked Lawrence if he knew what he wanted, and Lawrence nodded his head. Now, you can't ask Santa for more than 3 things, warned Daddy. 3? Why, I only want 1, answered Lawrence. And I can't tell you what it is, because it's a secret between Santa and me. When Lawrence's turn came, he stood on his very tiptoes so he could reach Santa's ear, and he whispered something very softly. But Santa either didn't hear very well or else he couldn't believe his ears. Eh? Santa looked at Lawrence a little strangely. What was that again? Say it a little louder, Sonny. So Lawrence had to say it a little louder, and this time everyone, even his daddy, looked at him, because it sounded exactly as though he had said, "A white horse, please, Santa," like the cowboys ride out west. Oh my goodness, thought Daddy. Whatever would we do with a white horse? We have no place to keep it. Oh dear, we must stop this. Lawrence was so interested in watching the twirling lassos that he didn't even miss Daddy when he disappeared for a minute. Daddy dashed up to Santa Claus' chair and panted, "Santa, do you remember the little boy who asked for a white horse? Please, Santa, bring him anything but that. We don't have room for a horse." Santa looked at Daddy crossly. "See here, I do not like fathers interfering in my business." "Oh, please, Santa," begged Daddy. "The only thing I want for Christmas is for you not to bring Lawrence a horse." "All right," Santa finally agreed, "if you put it that way. But remember, you are responsible." "Thank you so much," smiled Daddy, and he rushed back to the lasso counter. Daddy whistled gaily and even bought Lawrence another lasso, although there were already 3 at home. Nothing more was said that day about the horse. In fact, it wasn't mentioned again until Christmas Eve. The little boy could really keep a secret. It was just after Lawrence had hung up his stocking that he turned to his mother and Daddy and said, "I can't tell you what I'm going to get from Santa Claus tomorrow, but if I were you, I would have some oats in the house." He grinned, winked, climbed into bed, and rolled under the covers. Now look here, partner," his daddy said anxiously. "Don't be too disappointed when that white horse doesn't arrive." Daddy knew he shouldn't have said it, for Lawrence's eyes opened very wide, and he looked very unhappy. Then he hid his face in his pillow and said, "Santa told you. He didn't keep my secret. I don't like Santa Claus or Christmas." Lawrence's mother and Daddy looked at each other and sat down beside his bed. "There, there," said his daddy. We don't want you to be unhappy on Christmas Eve. I'll see if I can find Santa and tell him it's all right to bring your horse." Lawrence sat straight up in his bed. "Will you, Daddy? Right now, Daddy?" "Yes, right now," said his daddy as he went to get his coat and hat. "Of course, it's beginning to snow and I may have a hard time finding him, but I will try." Lawrence heaved a sigh and snuggled under the blanket. "You'll find him, Daddy. I know you will," he called from his darkened room. "Now what do I do?" thought Daddy to himself as he started off in his car. By this time the snow was coming down very hard, but Daddy kept driving, up one street and down the next. From one store to another he went, going farther and farther out of the city. Finally, the street stopped, and Daddy found himself driving onto a narrow country road that he had never seen before. "I'd better be finding my way home," he thought sadly, and stopped looking for Santa Claus. Just then, he noticed a light shining in a funny little house near the road. "Maybe those people can tell me where I am," he thought as he got out of the car and started to walk. As he came closer to the house, Daddy noticed that it looked something like a store. "What a strange place to find a store," thought Daddy. Then he saw it shining in the window, a beautiful white rocking horse big enough for Lawrence to ride. "That's it," Daddy thought, "a white rocking horse. Even if I can't find Santa, Lawrence will have his horse." He knocked on the door, but no one answered. He knocked again, more loudly, and soon a deep, pleasant voice from inside the house called out, "Just a minute. I'm very busy tonight, but I'll be there in just a minute." Finally, the door opened a wee crack. "I want to buy that white rocking horse in your window," said Daddy. The door opened wide then, and Daddy was invited in. There he saw a stout, jolly man with a fine, bushy white beard. "Please tell me how much the white horse costs," said Daddy. "I must have it for my little boy's Christmas present." The jolly man answered, "I really don't know how much that horse is. I promised it to a little boy for a Christmas present, but his daddy said he couldn't have a horse. So I will be happy to give it to your little boy as a special present from me." "Thank you," Daddy said, so excited at finding the white horse that he almost flew to the window. He took the horse under his arm and hurried to the door. Before he knew what had happened, Daddy was outside on the steps, asking the man the way home. The man leaned out of the doorway and said, "Go 2 blocks that way and turn right." Just before he shut the door, he yelled out in a ringing voice, "And Merry, Merry Christmas to you and your little boy." "I'm sure I've seen that man before," puzzled Daddy as he walked to the car. "Those cherry cheeks, that white beard. My gracious, now I know. It was Santa Claus himself." And with that, Daddy ran to the car, put the white horse in back, and drove home as fast as he could. The next morning, everyone was awakened by a shout, for when Lawrence got out of bed and raced into the living room, the first thing he saw was the white rocking horse under the tree. He whooped, "Yippee! Daddy, look what Santa brought me." Daddy came running, and there was Lawrence with his holsters over his pajamas, his 10-gallon hat sitting on his ears, riding the wonderful white rocking horse that Santa had given him. Lawrence looked at his father and smiled. "I knew when you found Santa Claus he would give me my white horse. You were right, said Daddy, as Lawrence galloped on and on, shouting, Yippee! Hi-ho! The end. Merry Christmas.